What's up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Crosstown On Tap. I'm Cody. You can follow me on Twitter at Cody On Tap, and I'm joined with my good friend Tony. You can follow him on Twitter at Tony On Tap. Very on brand of us, Tony. Happy New Year. I know we're 12, 13 days into the new year, but Happy New Year. Haven't seen your face since before the new year, man.
Happy New Year to you as well. Happy New Year.
Thank
Glad
you.
to be back talking baseball, man.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm glad we're back too. Before we really dive into it, I want to let everyone know, if you follow On Tap Sportsnet, you might know, if you watch a lot of our streams, whether it's Bulls or On Tap Bets, where you might see me, or Cubs On Tap for me as well, or Tony at Sox On Tap or Four Feathers, that you can't leave comments on Twitter. So go find us over on YouTube and Facebook and join the conversation. Because again, we're happy to talk some baseball tonight. I think it's going to be a good conversation, considering there's some actual stuff to talk about. There was some big news for the Cubs today, in a way. We got an update on the lockout yesterday. Yeah, just all that good stuff. So, Tony,
Are you feeling better? Are you feeling better? That's my first question for you, Cody. Like, I've got to start this off with a question so we can get things underway. Are you feeling better about the lockout that the two sides are going to be talking tomorrow? Let's take a temperature check.
It's I would say around 60 degrees, I guess, if we're gonna use temperature. Like, I don't want to get too up for it, because the MLB is really good at letting me down a lot with how they do things sometimes. So, I'm in a way, I am excited, because I'm just happy that they are moving forward. So, we'll have to wait and see after what comes out after the meeting tomorrow, and I will, I guess maybe my temperature will go sky high or go back down, because if they go into that meeting tomorrow and then comes out and I get to see a tweet from someone, Ken Rosenthal or whatever, and it says that nothing
Bob
was
Nightingale
progressed.
will have you.
Bob Nightingale. I can't say John Heyman. He blocked me on Twitter, but whoever it is, like, if they say that they went in this meeting and nothing progressed and it lasted 10 minutes again or some shit like that, like, I'm just going to be not only will I be really disappointed, but I'm just going to be really pissed off. So I'm trying to be optimistic about it. Like, they know that they need to figure this out, because we are already, like, in mid-January, and pitchers and catchers report normally around mid-February, man. So, like,
I was just talking with NWI Steve about this yesterday. Yeah, we're a couple weeks away from what was normally the start of spring training. Now, I know you've probably read some of the same stuff that I have, that if they don't get things solved fairly quickly, that there's going to be an impact on the baseball season, whether that be spring training. I've seen the rumors too that one side's going to hold out. I think you gave a warmer temperature than I did. It's like 10 degrees here. I don't have a lot of faith. I don't have a lot of faith that
I'm an
this is going to move
person,
in the right direction right now.
Yeah. No, like I said, I find a way to be optimistic about everything sometimes, maybe a little too optimistic sometimes, and feel like 60 degrees is about, to me, that's just like, pretty neutral, because if I'm too hot, then I'm, inept to be let down completely. And if I'm like you are, then it's just like, not to put you down or anything, but just being that negative this early in the year, just kind of, I feel like that's not good juju.
You're getting into the good juju stuff, whereas I feel like I'm on the mic with Buzz again. I don't have a lot of faith that this is going to move in the right direction, at least early. Now, I guess the thing that you can look at as a positive is that they're going to be talking. But there's a long period that these two sides, Cody, didn't come to the table at all. Yeah, it's the holidays. There's things. I think the last meeting was December 2nd or 4th, first week of December. This is essentially over a month that the Players Association and the league just haven't talked. Now, I'm sure emails have been exchanged and things have kind of gone back and forth, but there's been a lot of no news. And to me, no news in a lockout is worse than bad news, because bad news at least means there's been discussion and that things have been rejected. At this point, we're kind of in the dark as fans, as people who want to see baseball come back. That's to me, like right now, it can't get colder than this. So I guess the temperatures will rise when they talk tomorrow. But man,
I guess in a way, part of me is optimistic because I just not even maybe, like I really didn't see them meeting. Like, like I guess I was like where you're at until that Jeff Passan tweet came out yesterday. Because I feel like everyone was there, right? Like there was nothing in December, and then we get into the new year, and we're the first week goes through, you hear nothing, and then a couple days ago we finally get something. Yeah, so like again, a week ago I was probably like right where you're at, and like now, because I know they're going into a meeting and stuff, and then like this whole thing with Ken Rosenthal and Rob Manfred, like basically fire him because of Ken Rosenthal just being like critical of him. Yeah, just doing his job. They're like the MLB just like, again, they keep finding a way to just shoot themselves in the foot with bad PR and all these bad things.
So that's a perfect segue for me. That's a perfect segue here. The report that just came out that they're looking to sell off their daytime games to potentially Apple TV. That's a prime example again. Prime example. What are your thoughts on that? Like that's getting discussed right now.
I knew there was discussion about like I thought like Barstool too was like in talks with MLB to like stream games. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't know. I just remember reading a headline about it, and that was it. And then like maybe like they were just talking to like streaming partners or whoever to like basically fix like their MLB TV issue that they have with the blackouts and stuff like that. I won't lie, like if they do that with Apple TV, I mean, I'll probably sign up. Like,
see, and that's the problem. That's the problem for me. It's because I'm going to sign up too, and there's a bunch of other people who are going to sign up. But I just think it's a terrible, terrible move for a game that, Cody, like you have MLB TV. Like, just remove the blackouts. Just remove the blackouts. Allow people to cut the cord and still watch their team. Charge extra right off the bat for local broadcast rights there. Now, I'm not at the bargaining table on any of these deals, and I know that the regional sports networks provide a pretty penny to these clubs in order to carry these games and hold those rights. But that's part of the problem. That's definitely part of the problem, I think, when it comes to the way that they're structured. When you're starting selling off these games, man, I look at the NHL and what they've done with ESPN Plus, and this is something that we've talked about on Four Feathers as well. It's not the same experience watching that broadcast. And I'm going to ask you the same question that, I'll ask my Sox fan friends. But for you, on the Cubs side, is it different when you watch nationally televised games that don't have top tier announcers when you're watching sports? Like, is that hard for you to watch? Like the YouTube TV games last year, very, very brutal, very hard to watch.
I think especially in baseball, because they play every single day, fans get accustomed to the local broadcast. Like, that's why Cubs fans were like literally broken when Lynn Casper took the radio job for the Sox. There's a reason why, Hawk is a legend, for the White Sox, like whether you really like him or not. I don't know a White Sox fan who really doesn't like him.
You can find him.
I mean, I know some.
You can find him.
I know some, but I don't really know a lot. Like it's a very few far in between for me. But anyway, like I mean, they're like legends at their craft, right, in the city. So when you have a national broadcast, it's different, and a lot of people don't like change. And then also, like especially at ESPN, they have really screwed up when it comes to like just getting the right people to do their like the big national broadcast on Sunday night. Like I could sit here and talk to you about how I loathe A-Rod on Sunday night. Vasgersian is okay. I think majority of people like
there's some
Vasgersian.
change up that's happening there too. We
Right.
forgot to talk about that before we got on the mic as well. There's some
Yeah.
A-Rod news.
Yeah, like they're gonna do a Manning cast, except it's gonna be with A-Rod and Carl Ravitch. Apparently, at least that's the rumor. I don't know if it's official yet. And to be honest, like I feel like A-Rod in that setting where like he doesn't have to. I don't know. Like I know he's the color commentator. He's not the play-by-play guy, but like maybe because it would be just him, he can just talk a little bit more related to just hit like maybe his playing days or something like that. I don't know. Like it's
weird.
Yeah, like
it's very weird.
I get why ESPN's doing that because the Manning cast has been great. Like
but how many people how many
people
are going to tune in? And I'm curious to see the viewership statistics on this just for how vocal the baseball community has been about A-Rod being a terrible broadcaster.
Yeah.
To me, it's kind of like we're going to shove him off in this corner on ESPN2 or ESPN Plus or wherever they're shoving this over there because they know that they just need to fill airtime and A-Rod's going to talk. That's my feeling on it. They don't really care about the viewership to it. They just want to get a better baseball, prime product that's going to be playing on ESPN. And I think that sort of in a way, this eliminates them from hearing all of that. What the hell is A-Rod doing? Noise, because he's off on his own broadcast. And if you're tuning into that, you're tuning into A-Rod.
Right. Yeah, this is true. I mean, I want to look like optimistically at it a little bit just because like it is different. And I've always thought that A-Rod was good on like post game for like Fox, like in the postseason when he joins or like David Ortiz and whoever else
Frank
at
Thomas
Fox
is on there.
Frank Thomas. Yeah. Like when he's on there with those guys, I actually like him. Like whenever A-Rod first entered the broadcasting game, like which was right around 2016 when the Cubs were going to the World Series. So
that's why you
listened to him all the time. I thought he was great doing like the pre and post game on Fox on FS1 or whatever. But then when he came to ESPN and started doing Sunday Night Baseball, that's when it got bad. So I feel like if they can find a way to do the A-Rod cast or whatever they want to call it, similar to that, where they're just talking baseball and he's talking hitting and all that stuff, like I think that could be really good. I think a lot of people don't like him on Sunday Night Baseball because he can be a little too old school. Like I like a little old school. Like he will take any chance he can to talk about how advanced analytics don't mean anything. And it just kind of shows like just that he's an older guy.
And see, this is like, where you would have had a problem with Hawk Harrelson.
I'm sure.
There's a section of Sox fans that had that same problem. And see, I'm one of those guys, Cody, though. Like, I'm going to just interject here. I'm one of those guys that, like, I'm not looking at stats. I've got Stat Head up right now. I'm not looking at stats all the time to, determine who's better in game, just.
And I'm not even like a big giant stat guy.
I'm fine with that discussion. My problem with A-Rod specifically is when he just goes completely off topic and you have no idea what it is that he's talking about. And it's not even a problem. I think he's just an easy target for criticism. Like I just think that A-Rod is an easy target for criticism. He has been since the later stages of his career where he was doing the steroids. People were all jumping on him and then he gets these TV deals. Yeah, he's just an easy guy to dislike almost at this point. So I think shoving him off on his own broadcast, if you're tuning into that, like you're tuning in because you want to hear him say something stupid or you want to hear him talk about because you're a huge A-Rod fan, like that's what you're tuning in for. So you're going to have a better captive audience for Alex Rodriguez. And then everybody else gets to enjoy their baseball. Alex Rodriguez free.
Right. Well, one I think one reason why the Manning cast has gotten so big is because of social media, because a lot of people just like find a way to record these clips where they have a certain guy. Cause they like, I know Aaron Rodgers was just on the most recent one they did. And like that went, I don't want to say it went viral on Twitter, but like it was vastly talked about.
Mm-hmm.
So if they have A-Rod on there and they're like bringing in, different people, and apparent like all of them that they did on the Manicast were like people jumping in like on a Zoom call or whatever. So it's not like these people you're gonna have to come and sit on a couch with them. But if they just like bring these like one or two different guests to like join him during a couple innings or something, I think that could be really interesting. Because again, if they're just talking baseball and hitting and all that stuff, I think that could be great on top of talking about whatever game it is. Like they would legit have to do it exactly the same like they do Manningcast for and then on when I was getting
no
with
faith.
I don't blame you, but if they do that and then all it takes is a couple people to share something on social media and it will spread, and if it's funny or something, it will get people to at least flip the channel there once in a while. And eventually, maybe it will grow on people. Because, like, so many people just love watching people talk about shit while watching shit. Yes. I mean, Twitch is so huge these days, right? Like, people are sitting here watching us talk right now. You know what I mean?
Talking about shit. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what we've done as humans for a long time, is just watch each other do stuff. It's weird, but that's content, baby.
People like people watching, you know what I mean? So
I don't know. I just can't
think it can be something really cool. I can't find myself tuning into it.
I can't find myself tuning into it. I'm just gonna be honest.
I get it. I get it. I get it. And again, like it's not gonna be great at first. And they're going to have to find a way to get people to want to actually flip the channel there, because A-Rod doesn't have the notoriety that Peyton Manning and it's more so Peyton Manning more than Eli Manning. But because Peyton Manning was great at like all the commercials and like all these things that he's done for ESPN since he retired, like he's a funny dude. That's why people tune in. They got to find a way to do that with A-Rod if they're going to do this with A-Rod. Whenever it first came out, I thought they should have been calling up David Ortiz or someone like that. He has a lot more personality. More people like globally like him. Yeah. I mean, honestly, like they could put both of them in there and I would at least flip the channel there for an inning or two.
Get A-Rod, call up Barry Bonds, Mark McGwire, get Sammy Sosa to make some appearances on there, and just get all the steroid guys. And
hell yeah.
Like Jose Canseco probably needs some money right now. Yeah. Like A-Rod and Jose Canseco, those guys hate each other.
They do hate each other.
Get them in the booth together. That is something that I would.
People would tune into that.
People would watch that. People would, and maybe they have to broadcast remotely. But just like 9 innings of baseball with A-Rod and Jose Canseco.
Dude, they would have to bleep out Jose Canseco like every 2 sentences.
Like, there's a lot of money to be made there. Somebody get Jose Canseco and A-Rod together to call a baseball game. There we go. We're solving problems. Rob Manfred, you want more viewership? That's the way to go. Let's segue this a little bit, Cody, into some Sox and Cubs talk. That's why we're here. You just had a former big free agent signing retire. We'll talk a little bit about that again. Before you get into that, Cody, I just want to mention to everybody who's listening on Twitter, head on over to the YouTube, subscribe to the On Tap Sportsnet YouTube, again, On Tap Sportsnet on YouTube, and then you can hop in the comment section here and interact with us. This is an interactive show. If you're listening afterwards on the podcast version, we are now on Apple and Spotify, as well as Anchor and a few other places out there. Go and make sure that you subscribe to the show. Cody, let's talk about this pitcher that retired.
Yeah, so if you've been under a rock, then you don't know that John Lester retired today. It was early this morning. I was on the treadmill whenever I learned it. New year, new me. We'll see if I make it all the way through. That's a joke. But anyway, John Lester retired this morning. Arguably greatest free agent signing on the north side of all time. Arguably, I would say, at least in my eyes, I think he is. World Series champion, won twice with the Red Sox, won with the Cubs. You know, I wrote an article. We haven't put it out on Tap Sportsnet yet, but I wrote an article making the case for him to make the Hall of Fame. A lot of people think it's borderline, and maybe it is. Maybe I'm a little more, you know, fanboy, I guess, shades on while writing it. Maybe I don't think. Maybe I think it's easier for someone of his magnitude to get in because of he was just a winner for 16 years. But I mean, there's also, you know, there's still some guys out there who haven't got in that I feel like are comparable to him. Mark Buehrle, he's been on the ballot for how many years? 1, 2, 3.
Too many.
Too many.
He's been on there for too many years.
Too many years. And he hasn't got it yet. So I don't think John Lester's first ballot. But I just do think he deserves to get in one day.
I mean, you're opening up a whole discussion of like how the Hall of Fame voting system works. You know, how much weight White Sox Dave's ballot counts for. You know, like there's just so many questions to be answered here. You know, you talk about Mark Buehrle, and that's one thing that we're gonna get heavily into here over the next 10 minutes is Mark Buehrle and John Lester. But for all intents and purposes, Cody, like the Hall of Fame voting system, I think these guys profile very well together, but one of them spent a lot of time on teams that were way more marketable than the Chicago White Sox. And that's John Lester with the Chicago Cubs, spent some time on the East Coast with the Red Sox. There's a lot of media coverage just nationally for both of those teams. Both of those teams were successful during his tenures. You talk about him being a winner. I think that really helps his Hall of Fame case. I'll just like right off the bat, those are things that are working in his favor to be a Hall of Famer. What he meant to the team when he came here and won as a free agent signing, I think that plays into it. Although Buehrle has his own hardware, and you know, I pulled up StatHead just to kind of run through both of these guys. They both pitched a ridiculously long career, Cody. Buehrle into the league at 21, Lester in at 22. But Lester goes till he's 37, and Buehrle actually, you know, same amount of years. Buehrle went till he was 36. Both guys in the 200 win club, Cody. 214 for Buehrle, 200 for Lester. I just want to ask right off the bat. I know pitcher wins is just something that people kind of nitpick all the time.
It used to be so big, but it's not like people don't take it seriously anymore.
But the 200 win club, like that's got to be cool. Like I think that's cool and tough. Like if you can get out there and your team wins and you get the actual credited win 200 fucking times, like that's awesome. Like do you think that if he only finishes with like 185, like it hurts his Hall of Fame case? Like, because I'm curious here, if the stat doesn't matter, you know, in 5 years, is it not going to matter that a pitcher only got like 60 wins in his career? And, you know, we've got a different voting system, and now they're
it's weird because
rock star for 2 years. Like, I don't understand. Pitcher wins have been used to get guys into the Hall of Fame for a long ass time. Now all of a sudden, pitcher wins don't matter. So does this matter in his case?
Yeah, right. That's a good question. I will say that in a way, pitcher wins do still have some weight when you just think about a player being a winner. When I think of John Lester and 200 wins, or even Mark Buehrle with would you say 214?
214.
What all that tells me is every fifth day the guy went out there and shoved and gave the team a chance to win. Like that honestly, like that's what these Hall of Fame voters and even the advanced analytical people who are voters who are more into the advanced analytics, like that's what like they should look at the win total be. Because I remember when Greg Maddux won 300 and people said that was going to be the last 300 game winner for a long time. And I don't think there's been a 300 game winner since Greg Maddux. I could be completely wrong about that, but he's like the last one that I remember. And the thing is pitcher wins has gone down because so many starters aren't going into the seventh, eighth inning as many times anymore. But John Lester literally built his career on pitching 6-7 innings every fifth day and giving you a quality outing. Like that's just what he did. Like one of the things that impressed me the most about John Lester was that there were days when he was with the Cubs, which is more so at the peak of his career, but trending down after 3 years. After 2017, he started to trend down because of age. But in 2018, 2019, he on bad days, he still found a way to get you 5 innings. He might give up 3 or 4 runs, but he was able to salvage your team's bullpen and at least give you some sort of quality, like, depth in your starting rotation. Like that, like, so when you talk about wins and losses for the pitcher stats, like, I feel like that's what really means the most about those. So for me, you talk about John Lester, 200 game winner. He just went out every fifth day and gave your team a chance. And that's why he has 2,000 plus strikeouts and why he has, he made 450 plus starts and, was just the model of consistency because he made 30 starts for 12 consecutive seasons at one point.
I mean, that's
the
health.
only
reason you're talking about a guy that was able to stay healthy, and that's like a huge thing now.
Right. Yeah. Durability, longevity. Yeah, for sure. Like, I always like to talk about how I think Yadier Molina is one of the more overrated players ever. But the real reason that I think that he is going to get in the Hall of Fame one day is because of longevity and durability. I mean, the guy plays one of the hardest positions to stay healthy at for a long time. As much as I can't stand the guy's really good defensive catcher at the very least, and has been able to play this long. That's something that I can at least respect. I just think he's an overrated hitter, and I don't think he's first ballot Hall of Famer. I think he gets in one day.
Let the Cardinals hate flow out of your veins.
Yes. That's the nicest I'll ever be about that guy.
Feel the hate in your heart, Cody. I love when you just get mad. You're a positive guy. Like, you got to let it loose sometimes.
Yeah, right. So again, like the longevity and everything, it definitely means something. So yeah, I mean, if he had 185, like you said, maybe I don't know how much it affects his Hall of Fame status. Maybe it leads to him having to wait an extra year or two more. I don't know, but 200 wins, man. Considering I don't even know how many wins Jacob deGrom has, but he should be a first ballot Hall of Famer whenever his career ends.
That's the
but he has no wins because the Mets don't know how to score runs for him. Like, his entire career, he's been nothing but the best pitcher.
You could throw Chris Sale's name out.
Yeah, Chris Sale's in there too.
You could throw Chris Sale's name out there. Is Chris Sale a Hall of Famer? I have no idea. I mean, he did win the World Series with Boston. Man, there's just so many cases here. I actually pulled up the 300 win club after you were talking about Greg Maddux. And the last one to get in there was actually, from what I'm seeing right here, Randy Johnson. On June 4th, 2009, Randy Johnson entered the 300 win club. And then Tom Glavine, August 5th, 2007. But then before that, I see Greg Maddux.
Okay, so I wasn't that far off.
And Roger Clemens was 2003. He is the only member of the 300 win club that is not in the Hall of Fame. Yeah. So that
for other reasons, not because of his stats, that's for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Get Roger Clemens in the ESPN booth with Jose Canseco and Alex Rodriguez.
I like what you had going there with the whole get the steroids guys in there and just let them tell stories or whatever.
Yeah, just call it the Bash Cast.
There you go. I like that. People would eat that shit up. I would.
If hey man, they're the superheroes that saved baseball once. Yeah. They should be the superheroes that save baseball again. Bring those guys back. Put them all in the booth and let them call the game. That's right. People love dingers. Yeah. Have them do some sort of home run derby at the end of the year. And ESPN can televise that too as part of the deal. I would love it. But I'm looking back here, man. It just threw some stats on Mark Buehrle and John Lester. actually in B WAR. Buehrle beat him out pretty significantly, 60 B WAR versus 44.3. So that leads me to the question, Cody. As a Cubs fan, as a huge John Lester guy that I know that you are,
Yeah.
if John Lester gets into the Hall of Fame, but Mark Buehrle does not, what's the reason for it? What do you think? Is that unjust? Or do you think if Buehrle doesn't get in, just knowing that some of these stats, like there's more win, again, I don't want to go to the pitcher wins, but
Yeah.
we'll look at some of the other stuff. Buehrle had 33 complete games. Lester had 15.
Yeah, didn't he had a perfect game too, didn't he?
He had a perfect game, a no-hitter. He had 10 shutouts over the course of his
And World
career.
Series champion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't hit the 2,000 strikeouts, but that wasn't his game.
Yeah, he was
at
a
all.
pitch to contact guy, right?
He was. But they both averaged exactly 1 home run per 9 innings. That's fairly good. And then strikeout per 9. I think that's where you get some extra leverage for John Lester here. 8.2 versus 5.1 for Buehrle. You know, Buehrle gave up a few more runs. Pitch to contact, was a different type of hitter, but you talk about him going out there and shoving every 5 days. That was Mark Buehrle's game. What are your thoughts here? If Lester makes it, but Buehrle doesn't, we already know what's wrong with the process, but give me your thoughts.
Yeah. I would say that Buehrle didn't get in. If Lester gets in before Buehrle and Buehrle just doesn't get in, I would say that the league looked at just the sole fact that Lester won he was in the playoffs 9 out of the 16 seasons, I believe. And I guess they would look at that a little bit more, maybe. I don't know. Personally, I think they both deserve to get in, but I do think maybe it's either that or the strikeouts is a big thing. I was looking at his John Lester's K per 9. If you look at all the starters, the starting pitchers, there's 80 starting pitchers in the Hall of Fame right now. And I was on Fangraphs today and looked and saw this, and his 8.2 strikeouts per 9 is 5th out of all of them, with Randy Johnson and Pedro Martinez and Sandy Koufax ahead of him, and a couple other guys, obviously. To me, that's a little I was surprised to see that, with all of the names that are in there. Obviously, there's some different eras in there where, strikeouts weren't that big and stuff. But John Lester played an era where, towards the back end of his career, where strikeouts became a huge thing. Every pitcher's been striking out. The K rate has gone up for pitchers across the league. And I know as that went up, his went down because he was getting older. But the beginning of his career,
he still held it. He still held it up there at a fairly significant rate. So, we're just talking baseball here, Cody. It's all fun and games. But to me, I'm just, as the White Sox fan in me, if John Lester's making the Hall of Fame, there ain't no fucking reason why Mark Buehrle shouldn't be in there. And I think that that's just my onus on it. I think that, you bring up a point. I brought it up earlier. Lester being in the playoffs more. It's a byproduct of the teams that he played for at the times that he played for them. So you can't really control that, but that controls the media coverage, and the media decides who gets into the Hall of Fame at the end of the day.
Right.
I just don't think that Mark Buehrle was the outspoken, sexy option. He was always that soft-spoken guy. He just kind of went there, did his job, and had fun doing it. If he was in New York, I think Mark Buehrle is a Hall of Famer, hands down. If he was in Boston, Mark Buehrle, Hall of Famer, hands down. If he was in any other big market team outside of the White Sox, I think you see Mark Buehrle make it in. But maybe it's just I spend so much time with negative Nani and not enough time with Southside Ron to get that optimism that I need. But I just don't see Mark Buehrle making it into the Hall of Fame. You've even heard White Sox fans sit here and talk about it. They call it the Hall of Good. I don't know if you've heard of the term,
I've heard of it.
Good. I think Mark Buehrle is one of those guys where he's the Hall of Good, but one of the reasons behind that is just the coverage of him, what he was nationally versus what John Lester was nationally. But I look at these stats, man, and I want both these guys on my team, but I would take Buehrle hands down just off of the longevity of his career, as well as just the ability for him to stay healthy, and some of the same reasons you'd take John Lester on your team. But, again, Mark Buehrle was the type of guy that nobody capitalized on. Like, he would have been Rob Manfred's favorite player in the league. He just got the game over with nice and quickly every single time he came out there. No bullshit. Just get ball, throw ball.
I think, like, if you throw a perfect game, like, I know, like, Philip Humber threw a perfect game too, White Sox legend. But, like, I just feel like if you throw a perfect game, you, like, if you threw a perfect game and you were in the league for a long time, I feel like that should cement you into the Hall, in my opinion. Like, because it's so hard. Like, there's only been like 21 of them, right? Only been like 20 or 21 of them.
They'll throw you in the record books, and they'll take your cleats from the game and they'll put it in the Hall of Fame, but they don't put you in the Hall of Fame because you have to be elected there. Yeah. So, I mean,
I know. I'm just saying, like, I feel like his resume, to me, well, it belongs there. Like, when I was a kid growing up in Central Illinois, and not a lot of people I knew were Sox fans, but when I would, like, think about the White Sox or, like, hear about them, Mark Buehrle was always involved in that conversation. So I know you talk about the media coverage and all this stuff and that, but, like, it's not like people, like, when people thought about the White Sox in the 2000s, Mark Buehrle was like one of the first people mentioned. It was probably him and Paul
Konerko. Yep.
Yeah. So
both of those guys labeled as Hall of Good. I think it might be a little bit of a little brother syndrome that, White Sox.
Well, a lot of people think, like, a lot of people compare Paul Konerko and Anthony Rizzo. Like, a lot of people call Anthony Rizzo Hall of Good. I think he is Hall of Good. Like, he hasn't he's 30 years old and his career is already trending down. He still has perhaps another 10 years ago. We'll see. But, like, at this point, I would say Anthony Rizzo's Hall of Good. Now, I don't have him and Paul Konerko's numbers like next to each other, so I don't know for sure where they're at.
I could get those. I could get those real quick if you want them.
I don't care, but, like,
I could get those numbers real quick.
Has Paul, like, it's been Paul Konerko came off the ballot already, right? Like, he's not on it. Like,
I did not see Paul Konerko's name on that ballot.
No. I just didn't know if, like, he ever was on the ballot because he retired much earlier. Like, he retired a while back. So, like,
I don't have the year in front of me. I'm trying to grab the Paul Konerko, Anthony Rizzo numbers right here, but for all intents and purposes, Paul Konerko was a great baseball player. Like, he was the face of that team in 05 and for a long time. And what's actually funny, I was talking again with NWI Steve the other day on Paul Konerko and Jose Abreu. And people, like, it was kind of shocking to me when I put their stats side by side, especially for their seasons, from, like, an age perspective, from when Jose entered the league to what Paul Konerko did. They're, like, very eerily similar.
Really?
It's kind of weird. Like, Jose Abreu and Paul Konerko, like, almost same profile, very vastly different, I think, approach and way they kind of play the game in certain ways, but very, very similar. So we went Anthony Rizzo and Paulie here. So I'm pulling those up right now. This should be very, very interesting considering what I just said about Jose Abreu. Okay, so we've got both of them. Rizzo he's 31 now. Konerko played till 38, so you got 7 years on it. Do you want me to pull Konerko's age back down to just his 21 through 31 seasons, or do you want the full picture, Cody?
Sure. Yeah, go 21 to 31. I just would like to see the trajectory, like how similar it was.
All right.
I think Rizzo's numbers have declined.
2007. That gives me to 2007 for Paul Konerko. If we look at this, these are very similar. Career batting average from Konerko. This would be, hang on, gotta pull this back just a little bit. Tell your career. Yeah, we're I made an error there, but they were both in those seasons within 4 points of batting average together. So that was very interesting to see. But let me fix this. We just need Paul Konerko from his first season to his age 31, which was 2007. And we've got the results. So batting average, Konerko was 281 and Rizzo 268. And that's in almost the exact same amount of plate appearances, 5,110 for Konerko, just three more for Anthony Rizzo. So they've actually played in almost the exact amount of at-bats in that time frame. From a home run perspective, at that point for Paul Konerko, 276 home runs to Anthony Rizzo's 251. Paul Konerko struck out significantly less. Rizzo 945, Konerko 815. Rizzo did have a higher OPS by just 2 points at 850, 848 for Konerko. OBP is very similar within 15 points of each other, 16 points of each other here. 353 for Konerko, just a slight tad bit higher for Rizzo at 369. This is some good data here, Cody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not really surprised that their numbers are essentially the same.
Anthony Rizzo did have a higher WAR.
Wow. Okay. How much WAR? How much higher is the WAR?
Very. From 1997 to 2007 for Paul Konerko, it came in at 17.6. For Anthony Rizzo, 36.8. And I'm trying to figure out where that comes from. The RBIs even on Paul Konerko, 895, 814 for Rizzo. This has to be on the defensive side.
Probably. Yeah. Rizzo's won Gold Glove a handful of times. So, overall, though, I'm not really too surprised here. I would say that I'm a little surprised that Anthony Rizzo struck out more than him, but I also didn't watch Paul Konerko every day as a kid. So, perhaps Anthony Rizzo is on the similar trajectory as Paul Konerko if he plays until he's 38, and we can see where it's at the end. But as of today, Paul Konerko is not in the Hall of Fame, and I don't think he is on the ballot. Not think he's not on the ballot now, but I don't think he was able to stay on the ballot. So,
Anthony Rizzo really stole 66 bases in his career so far.
There were a couple years I think he stole 8 or 9, and it just kind of
incredible to me. That's incredible. He's
one of those guys
some of that WAR came from.
Yeah, probably. He's one of those guys that he'll just he was really good at just catching the pitcher sleeping. Obviously he's not fast. So it was just
slow as fuck.
It was just a timing thing. And there was, 8, 9, 10 times a season where he'll still second base when pitcher's sleeping and doesn't think he's going to run. That just kind of that's kind of a good point to just how good of a baseball mind and player that he is. So, but again though, his numbers have gone down the last 2 years. So I don't know if Rizzo's going to make it to 38. Right now I think Rizzo can make it to 35. Because he's got a back, I don't want to call it a back problem, but he has a lingering back issue
so not a Hall of Famer.
Right now, I would say no. I would say he's Hall of Very Good, but
Hall of Very Good. Okay.
I think that if he could still give you 150 to 100 or 140 to 150 games a year and find a way to hit 25 plus home runs a season and, still post or still give you a really good defense at first base, he at least makes a case. But it depends on what teams he's on as well and stuff. I think Anthony Rizzo more so is just going to go down as the face of the Cubs when he retires. That's just what it is. As much as I wish the Cubs would have kept him and found a way to keep him around and stuff. But when people think of him, whenever he retires, they're just going to remember his face when the Cubs won the World Series and he put the ball in his back pocket and all that shit. Like, he's just going to be the face of the Cubs forever.
I won't even just ask you how you feel about Chris Bryant. We'll save that for another podcast, Cody. Let's just get some final answers here on this. Mark Buehrle, Hall of Famer?
Yeah. Mark Buehrle is a Hall of Famer.
John Lester.
John Lester's a Hall of Famer. There's I don't think there's any question. Now, I'm not saying that, when in 5 years when Lester gets on the ballot for the first time, I'm not saying he should be first ballot. I know how big of a deal that is. But at some point, I believe John Lester gets in a Hall of Fame. Like, doesn't have any like steroid stuff on him because obviously he played on the back end of that era or like coming out of that era. He won 3 World Series, was on a bunch of winning teams, and he's highly respected in the clubhouse by so many, not only players, but, coaches and other opposing players that played against him. Like, if you had to tell me like the most, I wouldn't say most deserving, but just someone who I guess defined a solid Hall of Fame career, like not like earth-shattering like Mike Trout type numbers, but just like a solid MLB career where they were a winner and they have some accolades and they made some history and they were really good at one particular thing or two. And again, they were just a winner. Like, that would be John Lester. Like,
Thank you for describing Mark Buehrle.
Okay. Then they both deserve to get in. And like, again, like John Lester wasn't great at like one thing. He was just very good at a lot of things. Like, he was like early in his career, he was really good at, striking hitters out. And as he got older, for probably around 2018, 2019, he was, I wouldn't say he was pitching to contact, but he had to adjust a little bit because his velocity went down. And so he did start to pitch a little bit differently. But his cutter was just something that, gave hitters fits for years and years. And so I don't know, man. Like, to me, it's not really a question. It's just more of a win. Like a question of if, but a question of when.
See, I wish I had the same feeling as you did, or you do, about John Lester, about Mark Buehrle. But again, like, I think that that's a phenomenal comparison. I hope that talking this out and hearing it, somebody who's listening to this kind of gets that that feeling that, yeah, Mark Buehrle should probably be in the Hall of Fame. Like, let's convince people, because I'm going to use that. From a Sox fan point of view, Cody, you've really helped me today. I appreciate it.
I just think that, like, I know you were like all in, like, or not all in, but like, talking about the media coverage and all that stuff. And maybe that plays
I think it plays a huge role.
For sure. Like, that's the like the media and like the team played for and everything. That is like the perfect example of why Derek Jeter was like first ballot, like unanimous Hall of Famer. There's no doubt. Derek Jeter was still a really good baseball player, over 3,000 hits, played for a really long time. Like, if he would have played for the Mariners, I might not have thought he was first ballot or unanimous, but like,
man, you're shitting all over Ken Griffey Jr.
Well, I'm just saying, like, if he played for the Mariners in his entire career, he probably wouldn't have been unanimous or first ballot, like, automatically. In my opinion.
I mean,
Ken Griffey Jr.
Let's give some credit to like the
game,
2000, 2001 Mariners here. Like, they were the face of baseball.
Again, yes. And I mean, I guess I shouldn't have said the Mariners. Like, Ken Griffey Jr. is
the Kansas City
like,
Royals.
Yeah.
Or the Baltimore Orioles. I don't care Ripken, but
again, like, Ken Griffey Jr., like, he literally changed the game in terms of like culturally. Like, the backwards hat thing, like the MLB should change their logo to Ken Griffey Jr.
I've heard that argument so many times.
I know.
I just don't know if I buy into it.
Well, it's just like
Ken Griffey Jr. should be.
If they really want to do this, like, let the players like play or whatever it is. What's the
Players Weekend and stuff that they're
that
trying to
like
do with that.
Let the players play, like the fun thing, because how a lot of older, like the old people that are stuck in their ways, like they don't want players bat flipping and all that stuff. Like King Griffey Jr., I guess in a way was like kind of like the start of that, just by wearing his hat backwards. You know what I mean? Like, so again, using the Mariners maybe was a bad example, but I think you get what I'm saying.
I'm just here to call you on bullshit, Cody.
That's fair.
That's my
that's
job.
fair. That's
my
fair.
job as your co-host here.
So, again, yeah, put Lester and Buehrle in the Hall of Fame, and as far as Lester right now, like in the Cubs, like what my biggest question, if there's
you
any
think he's
question,
coming? You think he's coming to the staff? Do you think Rossi's calling him up?
No, I don't think so. Not right now, at least. I think Lester's going to take a year or two, and then like maybe he might get into coaching or something like that. But like, I think the thing with like how David Ross and John Lester, like why they were like brothers, I guess in a way, like on the field, like Rossi just called him out on his bullshit all the time, and I don't know. I just don't see how that would work well in like from a coaching side. So
fair enough.
I could be wrong, and I'd probably find a way to get up for it. Like if they announce that tomorrow, I'd be like, oh yeah, let's go. Like I would think that's fun. So
I wonder how Southside Ron would feel about that.
Northside Ron would probably be ecstatic about it, man.
Well, I know Northside Ron's feelings on it. I'm just curious on Southside Ron's feelings. Cody, it's been a pleasure talking some baseball with you. It's still the dead of winter, and we have seemingly no end in sight to the lockout, but always good to get on the mic, have a few beers, and talk about baseball. I don't really have any other topics unless you do, but
I have one thing. We have one thing, and it's related to Lester, and we don't have to like go really in depth. But the one question that I have about it is when he does get in, does he go in as a Red Sox or as a Cub? That's the biggest question. Like, because on one hand, you win 2 World Series with the Red Sox. He won one with the Cubs, and it was like one that people will talk about forever, or at least everyone.
Oh, you don't think people are going to talk about the Red Sox World Series?
Not the 2008 and the 2013 one. Like maybe, they're still talking about 04, man. But they don't talk about 2008 and 2013. You know how people in Boston are so spoiled now? They just care about when they're winning the next one. They don't think about the ones in the past. It honestly disgusts me.
I actually saw Lester pitch at Fenway in a Red Sox uniform. It was one of the first game that I ever went to at Fenway. Lester started. I think that's a really, really tough question there. I mean, like, I think they let some guys go in on multiple teams, don't they? Like,
I don't know. I always thought you had to pick one.
I thought there was somebody who went in on 2 teams, but I can't remember who that was. Could be very ill-informed here. Had a couple of beers. But, if he goes in as a Red Sox, are Cubs fans going to be big mad? Like, are people going to be mad online?
I feel like there'll be some bitter people about it. I'm not going to be bitter about it. I'm like, I just want the guy to get in. Like, I just think he's so deserving of it. I'd be like a little bummed. Like, I won't lie. Like, I'll be a little bummed about it because it's like I could say that he went in as a Cub because people get bummed because they're like, oh, he probably just they'll be like, oh, he loved the Red Sox, like his tenure with the Red Sox more than he did the Cubs. And like, I guess that would be like, that would hurt a lot of Cubs fans, like, I guess egos or just like their feelings or whatever. But like, if you got to pick one, that's like, if I'm John Lester right now, like he's probably happy that he has 5 years to think about that at least.
I mean, you see him buy beer for the city of Chicago. That was John Lester, right? Like I don't see any stories about him doing that for Boston. So I'll try and calm you guys down just a little bit over
the Red Sox did trade him. Like the Cubs never traded him.
Correct. So there's things that we'll just have to wait and see, Cody. But if there's anything that Mark Buehrle has taught me, this might not be as simple as you think for Lester getting into the Hall. So.
You're right. Again, not first ballot, but at some point, sometime, someday, I think he gets in. So we'll see. Are they ever going to build a statue for Buehrle?
I don't know.
They should.
Statues are expensive these days.
I also say that we should build the statue for a lot of guys. Like, I asked for so many statues, and there's not going to be any freaking space for them in the ballpark or outside the ballpark. So.
Yeah, I see the statues.
I just feel like Buehrle played with the White Sox like his entire career outside like the last year, right? Because he went to Toronto his last year.
He went to
right?
Toronto. Yeah,
right.
He did.
But like, I mean, he played a long time. Like, guys who play that long at places and were successful, throw a perfect game, World Series champion. Like, I just feel like he just, like if they put Paul Konerko out there, I feel like you got to put Mark Buehrle too.
You know, Mark Buehrle's the type of guy that I don't know if he wants a statue of himself. Like, that's just you know that could be my just theory here, but Buehrle was always just kind of quiet. Like he's faded into the background.
About his business,
now.
I can respect it.
All about his business. He does. I don't know if he wants a statue. I'm sure that. You know, that's been talked about at some point. I would think you're absolutely correct. Like he's got so many accolades and you know, just a long career there. But yeah, I feel like at this point we just need a Chicago like sports Hall of Fame that gets more recognition, and we can put guys like Paul Konerko and John Lester and you know those types of folks in there. And
I mean, either way, like
instead
if
of
Lester doesn't like get into the Hall, like. He's still going to be beloved by Cubs fans so much that he's going to feel like he got like into the Hall, like, cause he'll be in the Cubs Hall of Fame one day. And then, you know, like they'll just, the way that the fan base treats him and how the organization for the most part has treated him, like he'll come back to like Cubs conventions in the future. And, you know, I feel like he'll at least be able, like he won't have to pay.
He won't have to pay for a drink in the city he'll choose to.
Right? Yeah, like he's gonna get the same treatment he got in Chicago as he did in Boston, and like so at the end of the day, like he's just always gonna be beloved in both places. And I know he'd rather get the Hall of Fame, but like at the same time, it's like at least you can go to both places and just be fucking loved and like not have to buy beer. You know what I mean? Like
again, that's what I said. He'll choose to. He'll pony up. Like, what did he pay? $47,000.
$47,000. He helped like 4 bars on Division Street.
Yep.
Just, you know.
Solid dude.
Yeah, solid dude.
Solid dude. But when he played for the Cubs, I wanted him to lose every single game. And
I did see that video today. I saw a video on Twitter today. There was some Sox fan who tweeted that probably the worst start of John Lester's Cubs tenure in 2020 when the White Sox came to Wrigley. He gave up 6 homers. Saw that video on my timeline today. I was like, come on, man. Like, couldn't wait till tomorrow to tweet that.
Fantastic. I wish I had that tweet up right now. We can end the show with it. But yeah, man, like, I think that I hope Mark Buehrle makes it into the Hall of Fame. I hope for your sake that you can celebrate John Lester. I think for my sake, I hope he goes in as a Red Sox just to see Cubs
just to see some fire on the timeline.
Just because. Yes, just because.
I can respect that.
All right, I got, man.
All right. Well, before we get out of here, everyone go make sure you're following us at On Tap Sportsnet on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Wherever you're watching us right now on YouTube or Facebook or on Twitter. If you're not following On Tap Sportsnet, go do that. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at Cody On Tap and Tony at Tony On Tap. And we'll be back probably, if not next week, the week after. And hopefully we have an update. If there's some huge baseball breaking news or something, we'll probably be back sooner. Hopefully we get some big news on tomorrow or whatever. And we'll come back next week and talk about it or something. But until then, man, I got nothing else.
I don't either, Cody. I'm going to hope for the good news, and we'll talk about it next time. Because we need baseball back in our lives. Everybody needs baseball back. I'm going to go back and continue staring out the window and waiting for spring. Cody?
Good idea.
Cheers, man.
Cheers.
Let's go Sox.
Go Cubs.